Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we're back with a little follow-up to the previous video, which is the dungeon tank tier list. Went a lot better than the previous one, obviously a lot less spots that I could trigger people with my opinions on. But today we're going to talk about a little bit of that. And we're also going to talk about, there's three main things I'm going to talk about, all right? Mob count. You're going to see this immediately here, right? So I really need your guys' help on this. We pull way too many mobs in this dungeon. Every time I do this dungeon, we pull too many mobs. And I don't know, like, I was thinking about it before, like in challenge modes, everybody did the dungeons the exact same, right? There was a guaranteed mob count that you wanted to meet, and there was a pattern to do it, all right? Everybody did it the same way because it was exact mob count. But now that they changed it from actual count to this percentage, it's a lot more amorphous. You could pretty much do a bunch of different things. So every time I watch a video of somebody do this, they do it a little bit differently. And I just don't know what the right route is. So I pull what I prefer. And then people later in the dungeon, they're like, no, we have to pull this. We need to pull that. It's like, but you remembered we pulled that before, right? And they're like, we need to pull, every time I do this dungeon, we need to pull these mobs. It's like, all right, whatever, we'll fucking pull. And then we're way, not even close. We're so far over mob count, it's unbelievable. So obviously this mob here is something we don't need to pull, but I would very much appreciate you guys, if you're going to listen to me rant on this video, I would very much appreciate you take a look at the mob count as well. Obviously, these three here are the first three that we should not have pulled, besides that previous mob that I didn't even mean to pull there. I gripped that. I figured that was a good idea. I've seen people do this in the past, but I don't know how much they give and what they supersede. Like what now, when we grip these in, what else don't we need to pull? So those are things to consider. Like if you can tell me a few options, what you've seen work best, or specifically what you've seen work to an exact 100% or very, very, very little over. That is the most important part. You want to maximize your time in these dungeons. And another way you can do that is with potions. But first, before we talk about potions, I want to talk a little bit about the actual dungeon tank video I made. Went over a lot better. Some people didn't necessarily seem to agree with me on DK, so I'm going to just talk a little bit about that. This is the highest level I've done, 6. I've done multiple 6s. I've never done a 7. I was a little scared of 7 at the time because my DK was only in the 850s at the time of recording these, and he was very weak. I felt like he was very weak. I finally got the 3rd golden trait, and I still have no legendary. So I finally got the 3rd golden trait, which is awesome for survivability. And then they gave us Icebound Fortitude. So now I feel like we are a lot more comfortable, right? So in that week when 7.1 came out, I now have gotten to 660 item level. So that's pretty good. But not all the gear is very good. Like, I don't have haste on many pieces, but I feel like item level is really important for tanks, especially getting into pugs. It's the best in slot for that. So yeah, I wanted to try to get as much item level as possible. But yeah, I feel like I'm doing very low single target as blood right now. Even using pots, I've heard people say that blood can do exceptional single target, and I don't know what I'm missing. The only thing I could think of is they're literally not using Morrowind. Like, that would be a very big DPS increase for me to never use Morrowind if I just spam Heartstrike instead. But I don't know. Do I not need to use Morrowind? I'm so like, early on, blood was so squishy, I felt like, without CDs, that any pull that I didn't have all CDs up for, I was just spamming Marrow. Like, I would be at 9 stacks of Morrowind. Give me the 10th, you know what I mean? Because it's such a high impact. Like, each stack has such a high impact that I found it was, like, pretty much necessary for that. But anyway, that may not be the case. So maybe that's what I'm missing. If you guys know anything about Blood's single target DPS, let me know as well. But okay, so anyway, so mob count, keep that in mind throughout the dungeon. We're going to pull these mobs here as well. These are mobs that you could skip normally. So I don't know, maybe we should skip them. But another thing you're going to see here is utility in action. So I think that's the main reason I put blood high on the list, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, fucking death grip. Watch that shit. That's a huge DPS increase. I just increased the DPS of the entire group by gripping that mob back. And the amount of times people are like, wow, nice grip, man. It's like, dude, this is what you're supposed to fucking do. This is what you're fucking supposed to do. This is why you play a fucking Death Knight. The amount of times I pug with a Death Knight who never grips, not once. The mob will be out of range. All right, no word of lie. Out of range, like 4 mobs stacked up, mobs over there, and he runs to it. It's like, you have a fucking death grip, dude. That's why you're brought to this. I brought you to this because you have a fucking death grip and a battle rest. That's the only reason you're in this run. I don't give a shit about your item level. I don't care. I brought you because you have a fucking death grip and you did not death grip the mobs. So that should exemplify things, all right? And people who are watching this as a follow-up still don't understand how I value utility in dungeons. They make especially dungeons where you're not in high coordination. All right. So yes, I've never done a plus 15. The people, somebody said that, not a DK has not, a single DK has not completed a plus 15 or had at least not logged one. Just to put that in perspective, there's like 3 logs of some dungeons, guys. There's a lot more fucking people who have done plus 15s. But the problem is they don't log them, I suppose. Either way, that may be the case. A DK may never have completed plus 15, and I certainly cannot even try it, all right? I'm not even 660 at the time. I am 660 now, but that is not high enough for fucking plus 15, guys. I can't do it. I can't even do plus 10 probably. I just don't have the experience in the class. I'm still learning it, and I don't have the gear. I need a fucking legendary like a bitch need dick more, man. It's unbelievable. I don't know why I have not gotten one in this character yet. A lot of people in my guild already have 2 on their alts. I still don't even have 2 on my Paladin. So I'm just really unlucky with these legendaries, but I'm not somebody who complains about that kind of shit. I don't have a lot of time to play the game, and I don't play the game as optimally as some people do. Okay, I do dungeons and raids for fun. I'm not going to sit there and do fucking LFR every week on 2 characters because it drops legendaries. I don't have time for that shit or the interest. It would kill me. It would make me want to unsub, so I will not be doing it. But anyway, here's a really good poll coming up here. I want to talk about potion usage. I'm very excited that potions are back, guys. We made like almost 6K pots on Tuesday with the Blood of Sargeras vendor, and I expect to be able to make even more over the course of the expansion. So that's a very fun. I really am glad they added this. So yeah, as you're going to see here, we got Old War. So we could also talk about Potion of Prolonged Power when we're talking about potions. It has a great usage as well. It's also very good for tanks. So basically, like it's good for content where you don't want to burn expensive pots. So, we're going to farm Heroic tonight. Well, this is going up online Thursday, but anyway, I recorded this on Tuesday. So we're going to farm Heroic tonight, and, I'm going to probably use a bunch of Potions of Prolonged Power as a Holy Paladin just to do some good damage. Not going to waste Old War. We don't need it. It's not needed in any way. And I'd imagine damage dealers will feel the same way. They'll use the Prolonged Power, and that's that. And we'll get some good kills, quick kills, and then we'll move on to Mythic. So anyway, here's another example here of DK. Yeah, it's a very good AoE, very satisfied with the AoE. That's with the Old War. And all CDs up, but yeah, as you saw there, when I was waiting for Vamp Blood to recharge, I was dead. I was very, it was precarious. And the only reason I survived was because the armor enchant on the neck procced, and he gave me the life cocoon. So yeah, could have been a death right there. We could have wiped. But the main reason we struggled there was because Juno was AFK, or I think he DC'd actually. The Paladin DC'd, so yeah, that doesn't help. But anyway, back to pots. So yeah, the Prolonged Power Pot is actually really good for tank. It's about like 4K health, so that's not too shabby. But I think in higher mythics, I would have to use the actual armor pot. Now, the reason I like Prolonged Power is because it gives a small defensive benefit and a small offensive benefit, but also because it lasts a long time, right? It lasts a full minute, so if you can pre-pot that on every single combat, then yeah, you basically have a second flask on, which I don't even have 1 flask on. So anyway, that's neither here nor there, but yeah, you could use a second flask. Basically, it's basically a flask. If you use it properly in dungeons, it's basically a flask that gives both stats, stam as well. And stam's not you shouldn't override stam as a DPS. It could save you. It's probably not going to. In a dungeon setting, 4K is probably not going to save anybody. But either way, maybe it's more than 4K. I don't know. It's probably more than 4K. I got like 1 million health. It's probably like 40K. But anyway, yeah, it's a good amount of health. It's sizable. You can see the increase, so not too bad. But it's not the best. I would rather DPS above all, so that's why, yeah, I'm using mostly. So like Prolonged Power is good for this type of pull. Mobs are going to jump away. I don't really want to spam these Old War pots. I don't want to use them all in fucking +6 dungeons, but I really am happy about the potion usage. I think it's it's exactly what the game needed right now, because without that, people were just they're like, nah, I'm not going to spend 10K on a dungeon. It's like, dude, I understand you're not going to do that, but this is how the dungeon's meant to be. Like, the whole reason challenge modes were challenge modes was because you were able to pre-pot on every single combat. And people would actually sit there and wait for pots, you know what I mean? So it's like, so here's a great fucking example here. We pull without pots because people are like, go, 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 this is timed, this is timed, this is timed. Okay, so I pull with it. Nobody has a pot. And you're going to see us not skip phase like him going into the cups game thing. He does it twice. And if we had pot on the pull, he would do it once. So great fucking example. It's one of the main reasons I wanted to upload this. Great fucking example of where waiting 5-10 seconds is faster than pulling immediately. And people don't seem to understand. I feel like there's a whole new type of people doing these 5-mans nowadays. In challenge modes, the people who did challenge modes were serious about challenge modes. They knew what was serious and what needed to be done in challenge modes. They played their spec properly. And now it's like you get all these raiders doing these, and they don't understand. They don't understand that. They haven't watched my videos. I made a huge video about this before challenge modes were even done. We were still doing challenge modes when I made that video. So back in early or late WOD. And I made a video about how to be good in 5-mans, especially considering Mythic Plus. And all of that stuff is still relevant. There's some things I would tweak on that list. I might do a follow-up, actually, but it's not gotten a lot of attention recently. It was very something that got a lot of attention when I uploaded it. But now I think since it's from WOD, most people just click off it as soon as they see that. But anyway, all of it's still relevant. And one of the main things I talked about was class selection, right? It was making the tier list. And as you can tell, a lot of people are very keen on class selection. And also potting on every combat instance. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand that the dungeon is one giant combat instance, and you are able to pot multiple times throughout it. So not using CDs often, not using pots often is just a massive DPS loss. It's like if you did a mythic boss is a 10 minute mythic dungeon, mythic raid, that's what I'm trying to say, and you did not use your potion twice. You know what I mean? Or you did not use your CDs twice or 3 times. It's like, okay, so you're bad. You know, that's just bad. That's just unskilled. If somebody posted those logs and tell me what I did wrong, they'd be like, you didn't use your fucking CDs again. You know what I mean? So that's the same shit that happens in 5-mans all the time. People don't use their fucking CDs all the time. They save them for bosses. So we're sitting there fighting trash for like 10 minutes, and then the boss takes a minute. It's like, well, that's useful. You know what I mean? I don't know. I never understood that. So anyway, mob count issues coming up again, but let's get right into BlizzCon. All right, I want to talk about BlizzCon. We got another 10 minutes here to talk about this, right? So I'm going to give some predictions at BlizzCon. I'm going to talk about some hot topics that are coming at BlizzCon. And at the end, I'm going to make like a final list of predictions. So I'd love for you guys to predict what you expect from BlizzCon as well. All right, so today's Thursday. BlizzCon is Friday and Saturday. In terms of videos, I think I'm going to do like a reaction type video. I'm making these predictions now on purpose because I want to make a video saying like, oh, I predicted this wrong, or look at that, I predicted that correctly. I'm somebody who likes to make predictions. A few of you may know that, and I have been very correct in the past, but I'm not like prophetic or anything like that. I just make predictions based on what I expect, and sometimes they're correct. So we're going to do the same thing right now, all right? So we're going to start with the off games. I don't really play them. I've never really played some of them. I never played Overwatch at all. So let's just go with Overwatch. I expect a new game mode in Overwatch, or some kind of big, maybe like an expansion, something like that. I can't really say much about I've never played the game. I'm never going to play the game. I don't own it. I have no interest in it. Anyway, here's the mobs that I was talking about before. The mage is like, no, we have to pull these. I was like, we have fucking so high mob count right now. We don't need to pull those. They're like, dude, every time I've ever done this dungeon, we have to pull these. It's like, okay, that's fine. I made a mistake early then. I admit that. Sure, we didn't need to pull those mobs. So we don't need to pull these now. But anyway, we pulled them. So tell me one more time on mob count, guys, about what you see we pulled that we don't need to pull, what we could have pulled, where we went wrong, you know. So all right, back to BlizzCon. Overwatch. Expansion, new game mode, some kind of like big announcement. Something that people are going to be like, oh my God, already? They're already doing this kind of thing? And I don't know anything about the game, so that's as much as I can elaborate on. I expect that, but I could see it. They hyped Overwatch the fuck out of BlizzCon last expansion, pretty much, or last BlizzCon. It's pretty much the whole thing. You know, Legion we already knew everything about Legion. In fact, I'm fairly convinced that that's why they did that May announcement where they announced it at Gamescom or something like that. Instead at BlizzCon, they announced kind of like a few small features instead. And that was because it was all Overwatch. So let's go to Heroes of the Storm, another game that I used to play a lot, but I just can't get into nowadays, man. I used to try. I try to love MOBAs. Sai's like big into MOBAs, so I try to play him with him, but I just don't like the genre, man. I really can't get into it. He plays a lot of League. It's kind of like his side game, you know what I mean? Like his main game is World of Warcraft, plays League on the side, just like my main game's World of Warcraft. I play Pokemon on the side, Dark Souls as well. But I never have enough time for those games as it is, so I don't find myself time to play Heroes. I used to play Heroes a lot in WOD. We played it a lot when WoW was really boring, but then they announced that 7.0 was coming out, so we just did challenge modes around the fucking clock, and I haven't played Heroes of the Storm since. So I have literally no idea what they can announce for that. At this point, I feel like the game is dead. I'm not somebody who says that, all right? I'm not somebody who's like, lol, this game's dead. It's only got 9 million people playing it instead of 10 million. It's dead. It's like, but that game is actually like, it feels like it's being abandoned. And even though they put a lot of effort into it, the reason, like, they put new characters and stuff in, the reason I say it's being abandoned is because it needs to become a professional, like, there has to become a pro scene. And Blizzard is not putting the money into that. They have so much, like, extra money. They need to put all of that fucking extra money into that game's pro scene, and they're not going to do it. They're going to do it with Hearthstone instead, and I understand why. It's way more accessible, way more popular already. And it's never, Heroes is never going to compete with League, ever. But it needs to if it's going to be popular. It needs to, and it's not going to because Blizzard won't do it. So yeah, you got Smite and League and, you know, CSGO and other big competitive games. They are dominating the market, and Heroes of the Storm will never have market share because of that. So it's unfortunate. But that's the way I feel about it. So I literally have I'm not even going to make a prediction. What are they going to announce? New heroes? They need to announce something massive for that game. Some kind of massive incentive, some kind of like tournament mode or something huge to get people interested in it again. Because no matter what they announce on Friday and Saturday, I'm not going to fucking care. Which is sad because, you know, like I said, I wanted to like the game, but it's just worse than League in every way, if you ask me. Which is sad to say. Okay, so Hearthstone. I expect another expansion, maybe. I don't know. I think they just did an expansion. I haven't played I used to play Hearthstone a lot as well. I used to play it a fucking ton on my tablet and my phone. I used to exercise and play Hearthstone while I would do that. But now I don't have time for that either. Working way too much, and I don't have time for pretty much anything outside of World of Warcraft and Pokemon. So, Hearthstone, probably another expansion or something. Maybe like some kind of big, I don't know, some kind of like overhaul or something like that. But I don't expect much from Hearthstone. It's kind of a game that they can kind of just announce things whenever they want. There's not ever going to be like a massive expansion for that game, I don't think. So unless they have one coming at BlizzCon, I would be surprised to hear any big news. So now here's the main things we want to talk about, okay? Diablo. This is what I'm going for here, all right? So we'll talk a little legacy here. So there was all this hype legacy-wise. You know, people were saying like, oh, they're not going to talk about legacy stuff now. They announced it, but you're thinking about the wrong legacy. We're not talking about classic World of Warcraft shit. We're talking about old games, all right? So what we should have from BlizzCon, in my expectation, is a Diablo 2 remake, all right? Fully, people seem to love it. I don't know, you know, I'm sure they can make a lot of money from it. And I think it's probably easy to do. So Diablo 2 remake, all right. Along those lines, we're also going to get a StarCraft 1 remake and a Warcraft 3 remake. So those are my big predictions for BlizzCon from those titles. A lot of people think we're going to see Warcraft 4, but I don't see why. I think just remaking Warcraft 3 would be better. You can even add a little bit to it if you want. These mobs are so annoying. I fucking hate these mobs. Anyway, you could add a little bit to it if you want. I don't know. But where would the story be in Warcraft 4? I don't know. The going theory is that they would do shit that's already happened in World of Warcraft. Like, you could even do the stuff from Pandaria. You know, you could do all the big army stuff in Legion, maybe something like that. But regardless, I don't know what they could possibly do with it. It wouldn't make much sense. You know, I think Warcraft 3's style makes a lot more sense back in the day. Like, it's the Orcish army looks a certain way. It doesn't look that way anymore. You know, the Kor'kron and all that changed that. The army from, you know, Alliance doesn't look that way anymore. It doesn't have like the metal plated. Nobody wears that shit on the Alliance anymore. So those things are kind of like iconic. And without them, I don't think the Warcraft franchise has much going for it, RTS-wise. Like, you need the units to look a certain way. So I think they would be much better served by just remaking Warcraft 3. And that is what I expect to happen, okay? So, World of Warcraft. Still got 4 minutes here. World of Warcraft is going to announce 7.2, and it is going to take place on Argus. Right? If you guys saw the Nighthold end trailer, I think they've removed that since then. They did not want that out there, but it did get leaked. I won't spoil it, but if you want to hear more about it, type in the comments. I'll tell you exactly what happens. But regardless, Illidan is in it, and he has a very high impact scene where he tells us about what we're probably going to be doing in 7.2. And I am fairly convinced it's going to Argus. So yeah, we're basically going to take the fight to the Legion. Now Velen is already there, so it's kind of a big deal if you ask me. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a massive 7.2 announcement. They're going to probably have a trailer for it. and a bunch of info for it. I expect some huge thing. I mean, dude, Legion has been fucking amazing so far. It's the best expansion ever for any. There's no way you could tell me otherwise. The amount of content we've had. I mean, just Mythic plus 5 mans. That's more content than WoD had, period. So amazing. I cannot wait. We've already got 10 bosses of a raid that's going to be opening next week as well. Very fucking cool, man. I am really hyped on Legion, and I'm really excited to see 7.2. Obviously, don't fucking put it out any sooner than it needs to be. Nighthold's not even out yet, but I expect to see some big 7.2 news, okay? There also might be some big Nostalrius news, guys. There's been a lot of hype around that. This is not something I really want to talk about here, but I do follow the private server scene. I enjoy classic World of Warcraft, mostly because I really love Paladin. I've always loved Paladin. I used to love the buffs. I used to love the way they played. So if they just brought that into the live game, I would probably not care about classic, because the game is honestly shit compared to anything in Legion. But yeah, there's some fun things to be had. I like all versions of World of Warcraft. And the people who made Nostalrius are kind of like under the table hyping it up again. So you're not going to see that at BlizzCon, but I'm just warning you guys, if you don't follow the private server scene, you're probably going to have to hear about it again. I know a lot of people who play live WoW are like, fuck this. I don't want to ever hear about this shit again. It's so stupid. I'm never going to play this shit. But I don't expect Blizzard to do anything official, but I do expect them to give Nostalrius their boon and Nostalrius to reopen. So you're probably going to hear a lot about that. But anyway, those are my predictions. I'm going to make a follow-up video Saturday maybe, or Friday even, depending on all that. So if you guys have any predictions, let me know, or any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear your predictions, though, for BlizzCon ahead of it. And then, tomorrow or so we'll make another video. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in that one. And hopefully BlizzCon is a lot of fun for everyone. So see you guys there.